Captain Zara Hendricks squinted at the holographic display, her emerald eyes reflecting the swirling patterns of an uncharted nebula. The starship Horizon hummed softly around her, its crew of 50 Earth's finest explorers eagerly anticipating their next discovery. "Dr. Kapoor, are you seeing these energy readings?" Zara called out, her voice tinged with excitement and a hint of concern. The ship's chief scientist, Dr. Arun Kapoor, looked up from his station, his dark brows furrowed in concentration. "Affirmative, Captain. They're unlike anything in our database. It appears to be some form of quantum flux, but the patterns are almost organic in nature." Zara's fingers danced across the control panel, adjusting the Horizon's sensors for a more detailed scan. Could it be a new form of life? Or perhaps a natural phenomenon we've never encountered before? Before Dr. Kapoor could respond, a violent tremor rocked the ship. Warning klaxons blared as red emergency lights bathed the bridge in an eerie glow. "Status report," Zara barked, gripping her chair to stay upright. Lieutenant Marcus Chen's voice crackled over the intercom, panic evident in his usually calm demeanor. "Captain, we're losing power to the main thrusters. Some kind of energy field is interfering with our systems." Zara's mind raced through potential solutions. "Reroute auxiliary power to the shields. We need to maintain our position until we can break free of whatever's got us." Another tremor, stronger this time, sent crew members sprawling across the deck. The ship groaned under the strain, metal twisting and bulkheads creaking ominously. "It's no use, Captain," Chen shouted. "We're caught in some kind of quantum vortex. It's pulling us in." Zara's eyes locked onto the rapidly approaching anomaly through the view screen. Swirling tendrils of energy, pulsing with an otherworldly light, reached out for the horizon like hungry tentacles. "All hands, brace for impact," Zara commanded, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. "Initiate emergency protocols and prepare for possible dimensional shift." The words had barely left her lips when the horizon was engulfed by the vortex. A blinding flash of light filled the bridge, accompanied by a sensation of reality itself twisting and warping around them. Zara felt as if her very atoms were being pulled apart and reassembled in impossible configurations. Then, as suddenly as it began, it was over. The violent shaking ceased, replaced by an eerie stillness. Zara blinked, her vision slowly returning as the afterimages of the vortex faded. "Damage report," she croaked, her throat dry and raw. Silence answered her. The bridge was dark, save for the faint glow of emergency backup systems. Zara fumbled with her restraints, freeing herself from her chair. She made her way to the nearest console, relieved to find it still partially functional. "Computer, status update," she commanded. A glitchy hologram flickered to life, displaying a schematic of the horizon. Large sections of the ship were highlighted in angry red, indicating severe damage. Multiple hull breaches detected, the computer's synthesized voice reported, distorted and crackling. Life support systems operating at 37% capacity. Engine core offline. Communications array non-functional. Zara's heart sank as she absorbed the dire situation. Casualties. Unable to provide accurate assessment due to system damage, the computer replied. However, multiple life signs detected throughout the ship. A small comfort, but Zara would take what she could get. She tapped her communicator, hoping the short-range system was still operational. "This is Captain Hendricks to all crew. If you can hear me, respond with your status and location." A chorus of groans and confused replies filtered through the static, confirming that at least some of her crew had survived whatever they'd just experienced. Zara allowed herself a moment of relief before switching into crisis management mode. "Listen up, everyone," she said, her voice carrying the unwavering authority that had earned her this command. "We've been through hell, but we're still here. I need damage control teams assessing every deck. Medical personnel, tend to the injured. Security, sweep the ship for any potential hazards. Let's get the Horizon back on her feet." As her crew acknowledged her orders, Zara made her way to the shattered view screen. What she saw beyond the cracked polymer made her breath catch in her throat. The horizon had crash-landed on the surface of an alien world. A vast jungle stretched as far as the eye could see, filled with flora unlike anything on Earth. Massive fronds in shades of purple and blue swayed gently in the breeze. Vines with iridescent leaves coiled around tree trunks that towered hundreds of feet into the air. And above it all, a pink sky dominated by twin moons, their surfaces a swirling mix of green and gold. "Dr. Kapoor," Zara called out, spotting the scientist slowly regaining consciousness nearby. "I think we've made first contact." As Aram stumbled to her side, his eyes widening at the alien landscape, Zara felt a strange sensation begin to build within her. It started as a warmth in her core, spreading outward until her skin tingled with an electric charge. Her heart rate increased, and she'd found herself short of breath. "Captain," Arun said, his voice tight with a mix of scientific curiosity and growing concern. "Are you feeling unusual?" Zara nodded, recognizing the symptoms of arousal but unable to explain their sudden onset. "Focus," she muttered to herself. "We need to assess our situation, find out where we are, and—" A rustling in the nearby foliage cut off her train of thought. Zara froze, her hand instinctively reaching for the phaser at her hip. She held her breath, straining her ears for any further sound. Silence stretched for several long moments before a figure emerged from the jungle. Zara's jaw dropped as she took in the sight before her. The alien stood nearly 7 feet tall, with skin that shimmered like mother of pearl in the pink sunlight. Its features were strikingly humanoid, large, almond-shaped eyes of deep violet, high cheekbones, and full lips that quirked into a curious smile as it regarded them. A mane of silvery hair cascaded down its back, adorned with small, bioluminescent flowers. The alien's body was lean and athletic, covered only by what appeared to be living vines that shifted and moved of their own accord. As it approached, Zara felt the strange arousal within her spike to nearly unbearable levels. "Hello," she managed to say, her voice hoarse. "I'm Captain Zara Hendricks of the Earth vessel Horizon. We mean you no harm." The alien tilted its head, studying them intently. When it spoke, its voice was melodic, with an otherworldly quality that sent shivers down Zara's spine. "Welcome, Zara of Earth," the alien said, its lips forming the words with uncanny precision. "I am Lyrics, emissary of the Zephyrian people. We have long awaited your arrival." Before Zara could process Lyric's words, more figures emerged from the jungle. A dozen Zephyrians, all similarly captivating, surrounded them with a mix of curiosity and excitement in their eyes. "Wait," Zara said, backing away slowly, her scientific mind fighting against the fog of arousal. "What do you mean, you've been waiting for us? How did you know we were coming?" Lyric's smile widened, revealing teeth that gleamed like polished opals. "All will be explained in time, Captain. For now, you must come with us. Our matriarch awaits, and the fate of both our peoples hangs in the balance." As the Zephyrians closed in around them, Zara exchanged a look with Dr. Kapoor. They were outnumbered, unfamiliar with the terrain, and in no physical condition for confrontation. Besides, the growing fog of arousal made it difficult to think clearly. "I suppose we don't have much choice," Zara said, trying to keep her voice steady. "Lead the way, Lyrics. But know this, we come in peace, and we expect to be treated accordingly." Lyrics nodded sullenly. "Of course, Captain. The Zephyrians are a peaceful people. We seek only cooperation and mutual benefit." With that cryptic statement hanging in the air, Zara, Arun, and the conscious members of the Horizon's crew were led into the alien jungle, leaving behind their crashed ship and stepping into a world of unknown wonders and dangers. Little did they know that their arrival would spark a chain of events that would forever change the course of 2 civilizations. The journey through the Zephyrian jungle was a sensory overload for Captain Zara Hendricks and her crew. They moved in a daze, their minds struggling to process the alien beauties surrounding them while fighting against the persistent fog of arousal induced by the atmosphere. Dr. Arun Kapoor stumbled alongside Zara, his scientific curiosity momentarily overriding his body's distractions. "Captain," he whispered, voice strained, "the biodiversity here is astounding. These plants seem to be bioelectric in nature. And the air, there must be some kind of pheromone or chemical compound." "Focus, Doctor," Zara hissed, though she sympathized with his awe. "We need to stay alert. Our priority is the safety of our crew and gathering intel on these Etherians." As they pushed deeper into the jungle, the vegetation began to thin, giving way to carefully cultivated gardens. Massive flowers with bioluminescent petals lined the path, their glow pulsing in hypnotic patterns. The air grew thicker with sweet, intoxicating scents that made Zara's head spin. Suddenly, the jungle parted to reveal a sight that took their breath away. A city of crystal spires rose from the forest floor, each structure refracting the pink sunlight into dazzling rainbows. The buildings seemed to pulse with an inner light, as if they were alive. Zephyrians of all sizes moved about the city, their iridescent skin creating a hypnotic display of color and movement. Some flew between the spires on gossamer wings, while others traveled on floating platforms that hummed with energy. "Incredible," Zara breathed, momentarily forgetting their predicament. "The level of technology required to create such structures, it's beyond anything we've encountered." Lyrics, their Zephyrian guide, placed a hand on Zora's shoulder, sending a jolt of electricity through her body. "Welcome to Harmonia, the heart of our civilization. Our matriarch awaits you in the central spire." As they made their way through the city, Zara noticed the looks of excitement and hope on the faces of the Zephyrians they passed. Whispers followed in their wake, though she couldn't understand the words. "Why are they looking at us like that?" Lieutenant Chen asked, his voice tight with tension. "It's like they've been expecting us." Before Lyrics could answer, they arrived at the base of the largest crystal spire. Its surface rippled like water as they approached, parting to allow them entry. Inside, they ascended via a platform of pure energy, coming to rest in a vast chamber at the top of the structure. The matriarch of the Zephyrians stood waiting for them, her presence commanding the room. She was taller than the others, with an ethereal beauty that made Zara's breath catch in her throat. When she spoke, her voice resonated with power and authority. "Welcome, children of Earth. I am Matriarch Ilara, leader of the Zephyrian people. We have much to discuss." Zara stepped forward, fighting to maintain her composure. "Matriarch Ilara, I am Captain Zara Hendricks of the Starship Horizon. We come in peace, seeking knowledge and mutual understanding. But I must ask, how did you know we were coming? And what is the purpose of bringing us here?" Ilara's expression softened slightly. "I understand your confusion, Captain. Allow me to explain. Our race faces a crisis that threatens our very existence. Centuries ago, a genetic mutation began to spread through our population, gradually eliminating males from our species. We are now an all-female race, unable to reproduce naturally." The implications of her words hit Zara like a physical blow. She exchanged glances with Dr. Kapoor, whose scientific mind was already racing with possibilities. Ilara continued, "Our greatest minds have worked tirelessly to find a solution, but to no avail. Then, generations ago, our oracles foresaw the arrival of beings from beyond the stars, beings whose genetic makeup could be the key to our salvation." "You mean us," Zara said, realization dawning. "You believe we can help you reproduce." "We know you can," Ilara replied, her eyes gleaming with intensity. "Your arrival was prophesied, Captain Hendricks. You and your crew are the key to our survival, the ones who will father a new generation of Zephyrians and save our species from oblivion." A heavy silence fell over the chamber as the Horizon's crew processed this information. Zara's mind reeled, the scientist in her fascinated by the biological implications, while another part recognized the ethical quandary of the situation. I I'm not sure we're comfortable with that, Zara said carefully. There are so many unknowns, so many potential consequences. We need time to study the situation, to understand the compatibility of our species. Ilara's expression hardened. I'm afraid you misunderstand, Captain. This is not a request. You will fulfill your destiny and ensure the survival of our people. As the matriarch's words hung in the air, Dr. Kapoor's eyes widened with sudden understanding. The atmosphere, he blurted out. It contains some kind of aphrodisiac, doesn't it? That's why we've been feeling aroused since we arrived. Lyrics nodded, a hint of admiration in her eyes. Perceptive, Doctor. Yes, our atmosphere contains compounds that stimulate sexual arousal in most species. It's a natural defense mechanism of our world, and it will help facilitate the necessary interactions. Zara's heart raced as she realized the full extent of their situation. Stranded on an alien world, surrounded by a species on the brink of extinction, and bombarded by chemicals designed to override their self-control, she took a deep breath, trying to center herself. Matriarch Ilara, she said, her voice steady despite the turmoil within, I understand the gravity of your situation, but we cannot simply agree to this without further study. There could be unforeseen consequences, genetic incompatibilities. We need to approach this scientifically, ethically. Ilara's eyes narrowed. And if we refuse to wait, if we decide to take what we need by force? The tension in the room skyrocketed. Zara's hand instinctively moved to where her phaser should have been, only to find empty air. They were unarmed, outnumbered, and at the mercy of an alien civilization desperate for survival. But Zara Hendricks hadn't become the youngest captain in Earth's fleet by backing down from a challenge. She straightened her spine, meeting Ilara's gaze with unwavering determination. Then you would be making a grave mistake, Zara declared, her voice ringing with authority. We may be few, but we are representatives of Earth. Our people will come for us, and they will not take kindly to their explorers being used against their will. A tense silence fell over the chamber. The fate of two civilizations hung in the balance, teetering on the edge of conflict or cooperation. As Zara stared down the Zephyrian matriarch, she knew that her next words and actions would shape the course of this unprecedented first contact. Little did either side know that the true test of their resolve, and the key to their mutual survival, was yet to come. The tension in the crystal chamber was palpable as Captain Zara Hendricks and Matriarch Ilara faced off. The fate of two civilizations hung in the balance, with the Zephyrians desperate for a solution to their genetic crisis, and the Horizon's crew fighting for their autonomy. It was Dr. Arun Kapoor who broke the silence, his scientific curiosity overriding his caution. Matriarch Ilara, he said, stepping forward, perhaps we can find a middle ground. As scientists, we're naturally curious about your situation. If you'd allow us to study your genetics, we might be able to help without resorting to forced interactions. Ilara's gaze shifted to the doctor, her expression softening slightly. You offer hope, Dr. Kapoor, but understand, we have little time left. Our population is dwindling, and each passing cycle brings us closer to extinction. Zara saw an opportunity and seized it. Then let us work together, she proposed. Give us access to your research, your facilities. We'll dedicate our efforts to finding a solution that benefits both our peoples. The matriarch considered this for a long moment, her iridescent eyes searching Zara's face. Finally, she nodded. Very well, Captain. We will cooperate, for now. But know that if significant progress isn't made soon, we may have no choice but to take more drastic measures. With the immediate threat diffused, Zara felt some of the tension leave her body. But as Ilara led them deeper into the spire, towards the Zephyrian research facilities, she couldn't shake the feeling that they were walking a razor's edge. The laboratories they entered were a marvel of alien technology. Holographic displays flickered with complex genetic sequences, while strange machines hummed with energy, analyzing and manipulating cellular structures. Dr. Kapoor was in his element, his eyes wide with wonder as he examined the equipment. Fascinating, he murmured. Their understanding of genetic manipulation is centuries ahead of ours. Lyrics, who had been quietly observing, stepped forward. Yet for all our advancement, we cannot solve the simplest problem of reproduction, she said, a note of bitterness in her melodic voice. As the Zephyrian scientists began sharing their research with the Horizon's crew, the full scope of their crisis became clear. The genetic mutation that had eliminated males from their species had also made it impossible for them to reproduce through traditional means. They had tried cloning, genetic splicing, and even artificial insemination using preserved genetic material, but each attempt had failed. The mutation is adaptive, one of the Zephyrian scientists, Naya, explained. It actively resists our efforts to circumvent it. We believe it may be the result of ancient genetic engineering gone wrong, perhaps a failsafe that was never meant to be activated. Zara frowned, processing the information. But why do you believe humans are the key? Surely you've encountered other spacefaring species before us. Ilara, who had been silently observing, spoke up. We have, Captain, but none has shown the genetic compatibility that your species possesses. Our oracles foresaw your arrival for a reason. As if to underscore her point, a holographic display sprang to life, showing a complex double helix. This is a typical Zephyrian genetic structure, Naya explained. With a wave of her hand, she brought up another display. And this is human DNA, based on the scans we took when you arrived. The two structures began to rotate, and to the amazement of the Horizon's crew, they started to merge, forming a stable hybrid structure. Incredible, Dr. Kapoor breathed. The compatibility is remarkable, but surely this is just a simulation. The real process would be far more complex. Naya nodded. Of course, but it gives us hope. With your help, we may be able to create a viable hybrid embryo, a new generation of Zephyrians with the genetic diversity needed to overcome our mutation. The implications were staggering. Zara's mind raced with the potential consequences, both positive and negative, of such a breakthrough. Even if this works, she said cautiously, we're talking about creating an entirely new species. The ethical implications are air. She was cut off by a sudden alarm. The holographic displays flickered, and a wave of distress swept through the Zephyrian scientists. What's happening? Zara demanded, instinctively moving into a defensive stance. Ilara's face was grim as she studied a newly appeared display. It's suggestion chambers, she said, her voice tight with worry. The latest batch of embryos. They're destabilizing. We're losing them. The room erupted into action. Zephyrian scientists rushed to control panels, their fingers flying over alien interfaces as they fought to save their future generation. Dr. Kapoor, driven by scientific instinct, moved to help. Let me assist, he called out. I may see something you've missed. For a moment, Zara thought the Zephyrians might refuse. But desperation won out, and they quickly brought a run up to speed on their systems. As the crisis unfolded, Zara found herself standing beside Ilara, both leaders watching their people work together in a desperate bid to save the embryos. This is what we face, Captain, Ilara said softly. This is why we cannot afford to wait. Each failure brings us one step closer to oblivion. Zara nodded, her resolve strengthening. I understand, but forced cooperation isn't the answer. We'll find a solution, matriarch. Together. As if in response to her words, a cheer went up from the scientists. Dr. Kapoor's voice rang out, filled with excitement. We've stabilized them. The embryos are viable. Relief washed over the room, but it was short-lived. Naya's voice cut through the celebration, her tone grim. The stabilization is temporary. Without a new source of genetic material, they'll begin to degrade again within days. All eyes turned to the Horizon's crew. The unspoken question hung heavy in the air. Would they voluntarily provide what the Zephyrians so desperately needed? Zara felt the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. She looked at her crew, seeing the mix of fear, curiosity, and determination in their eyes. Then she turned to Ilara, whose expression was a blend of hope and resigned acceptance. "We need time to discuss this among ourselves," Zara said firmly. "This isn't a decision to be made lightly, but I promise you, matriarch, we will consider all options. The fate of your people, it matters to us." Ilara nodded solemnly. "Very well, Captain. We will give you the time you need. But remember, our clock is ticking. The future of the Zephyrian people rests in your hands." As Zara led her crew to a private chamber to deliberate, she couldn't shake the feeling that they were standing at a crossroads of history. Whatever they decided would not only shape the future of the Zephyrians, but potentially change the course of human exploration and interspecies relations forever. The true test of their ingenuity, ethics, and humanity was about to begin. Captain Zara Hendricks paced the private chamber, her mind racing with the enormity of the decision before them. Her crew watched her, a mix of anticipation and anxiety on their faces. "All right, people," she said, finally coming to a stop. "We need to talk this through. The Zephyrians are asking us to potentially alter the course of their entire species. We need to consider all angles." Dr. Arun Kapoor spoke up first, his eyes bright with scientific excitement. "Captain, the genetic compatibility between our species is unprecedented. This could be the greatest xenobiological discovery in human history. The potential for advancing our understanding of genetics alone is staggering." Lieutenant Marcus Chen frowned, his security training kicking in. "But at what cost, Doctor? We're talking about creating a hybrid species. What are the long-term implications? And let's not forget, we're still essentially prisoners here." "Prisoners who could hold the key to saving an entire civilization," Dr. Elena Rodriguez, the ship's ethicist, interjected. "We have to consider the moral implications of inaction as well as action." The debate raged on, each crew member bringing their unique perspective to the table. As Zara listened, she felt a plan beginning to form in her mind. "What if," she said, cutting through the discussion, "we approach this as a collaborative scientific mission? Instead of simply providing genetic material, we work alongside the Zephyrians to find a long-term solution. We combine our ingenuity with their advanced technology." The crew fell silent, considering her words. Dr. Kapoor was the first to nod enthusiastically. Yes, that could work. Their genetic manipulation techniques are far advanced, but they lack the outside perspective we can provide. Fresh eyes might see solutions they've overlooked. With a tentative agreement reached, Zara led her crew back to the Zephyrian laboratory. Matriarch Ilara was waiting, her expression a mix of hope and apprehension. "We have a proposal," Zara announced. "We're willing to help, but on our terms. We want to work alongside your scientists, combining our knowledge and skills to find a sustainable solution, not just a temporary fix." Ilara considered this for a moment, then nodded. "Agreed, but understand, time is of the essence. We must see progress." And so began an unprecedented collaboration between humans and Zephyrians. Days blurred into weeks as the two species worked tirelessly, their efforts fueled by the urgency of the Zephyrians' plight and the humans' burning curiosity. Dr. Kapoor and Naya led the primary research team, their contrasting approaches yielding unexpected breakthroughs. Where the Zephyrians sought to push their advanced technology to its limits, the humans often found elegant solutions in simplicity. One particularly frustrating problem involved the stability of the hybrid embryos. The Zephyrians had been using complex energy fields to maintain cellular cohesion, but the embryos inevitably broke down. It was Lieutenant Chen, of all people, who provided the key insight. Watching the Zephyrians work, he was reminded of force field harmonics from the Horizon's defensive systems. "What if," he suggested, "instead of trying to force stability from the outside, we introduce a harmonic resonance at the cellular level, something that would encourage the cells to maintain cohesion on their own?" The Zephyrians were skeptical, but Dr. Kapoor saw the potential. Together, they developed a technique using modified nanites to introduce a subtle bioresonance field within the embryos themselves. To everyone's amazement, it worked. The hybrid embryos not only stabilized, but began to show signs of normal, healthy development. As the research progressed, Zara noticed a change in the dynamics between the two species. The initial tension and distrust gave way to mutual respect and even friendship. Cultural exchanges became common during break periods, with humans and Zephyrians sharing stories, music, and ideas. But not everything went smoothly. Ethical debates often erupted, particularly around the issue of consent. The Zephyrians, driven by their desperation to survive, sometimes pushed for more aggressive approaches that made the humans uncomfortable. It was during one such heated discussion that Dr. Rodriguez made a breakthrough. What if, she proposed, instead of focusing solely on creating viable offspring, we look at reversing the original mutation in adult Zephyrians? The idea sent shockwaves through the research team. The Zephyrians had long considered their condition irreversible, but the fresh perspective of the human scientists opened up new avenues of exploration. Combining the Zephyrians' advanced genetic manipulation techniques with human problem-solving approaches, they began to make progress. It was slow, painstaking work, but gradually they started to see results. The first successful reversal of the mutation in a small cluster of Zephyrian cells was met with jubilation. It wasn't a complete solution, but it was a monumental step forward. As Zara watched her crew celebrate alongside the Zephyrians, she felt a swell of pride. They had taken an impossible situation and, through cooperation and ingenuity, found a path forward. But their joy was short-lived. Just as it seemed, they were on the brink of a major breakthrough. Alarms blared throughout the crystal spire. Ilara rushed into the lab, her face pale with worry. "We're under attack," she announced, her voice tight with tension. "An old enemy, drawn by the energy signatures of our experiments. They seek to steal our research and destroy what remains of our civilization." Zara's crew looked to her, their expressions a mix of determination and fear. They had come to see the Zephyrians as allies, even friends, but they were scientists and explorers, not warriors. Yet as Zara met Ilara's eyes, she knew they couldn't stand idly by. Humanity's ingenuity had helped bring the Zephyrians hope. Now, it would need to help defend it. "What do you need from us?" Zara asked, her voice steady and resolute. Ilara's relief was palpable. "Your tactical knowledge, your unpredictable human ingenuity. Our defenses are strong, but we've grown complacent. We need fresh eyes, new strategies." Zara nodded, her mind already racing with possibilities. "All right, people," she addressed her crew, slipping easily into command mode. "Looks like we're about to add tactical advisors to our resumes. Let's show these Zephyrians what humanity can do in a crisis." As they rushed to the Defense Control Center, Zara couldn't help but marvel at the twist of fate. They had come to this alien world as explorers and scientists. Now, they might be the key to saving it from destruction. The true test of human ingenuity was about to begin, with the fate of an entire civilization hanging in the balance. The Zephyrian Defense Control Center was a marvel of alien technology, its crystalline walls alive with holographic displays showing the approaching enemy fleet. Captain Zara Hendricks and her crew stood alongside their Zephyrian allies, their minds racing to formulate a plan. "What can you tell us about this enemy?" Zara asked, her eyes scanning the tactical readouts. Matriarch Ilara's voice was grim as she replied, "They are the Voidborn, a nomadic race of scavengers and raiders. They seek advanced technology to sustain their fleet, caring little for the civilizations they destroy in the process." Lieutenant Chen studied the enemy formation with a practiced eye. "Their attack pattern is unusual. It's almost like they're herding us." Dr. Kapoor nodded in agreement, his scientific mind analyzing the data. "It's not just an attack, it's containment. They don't want to destroy the research, they want to capture it." Zara's mind raced with the implications. "Then we use that against them. Ilara, what kind of offensive capabilities do we have?" The matriarch hesitated, a look of discomfort crossing her face. We have no weapons, Captain. The Zephyrian people renounced violence centuries ago. Our defenses are entirely passive. The revelation hit the human crew like a physical blow. They exchanged glances of disbelief and growing concern. "No weapons," Chen exclaimed. "How do you expect to repel an invasion without the means to fight back?" Ilara drew herself up, a hint of pride in her voice. "Our shield technology is unparalleled. We have survived countless attacks through pacifism and endurance." Zara could see the cultural chasm widening between their two species, the human's instinct to actively defend clashing with the Zephyrians' deeply ingrained pacifism. But there was no time for a philosophical debate. "Okay," Zara said, taking charge. "We need to think outside the box. If we can't attack them directly, we need to find a way to make them abandon their mission." She turned to Dr. Rodriguez. "Elena, you've been studying Zephyrian culture. Any insights that could help?" The ethicist's brow furrowed in concentration. The Zephyrians have a deep connection to their biosphere. Their technology, their very bodies, are attuned to the planet's rhythms. Perhaps we could use that somehow. Dr. Kapoor's eyes lit up with sudden inspiration. The pheromones. The compounds in the atmosphere that affected us when we arrived. What if we could weaponize them? The suggestion sent a ripple of unease through the Zephyrians. Lyrics, who had been quietly observing, spoke up. "To use our planet's essence as a weapon, it goes against everything we believe in. But if it saves your civilization, isn't it worth considering?" Chen argued. The debate quickly escalated, with humans and Zephyrians alike voicing passionate arguments for and against the plan. Ethical considerations clashed with tactical necessity, and cultural differences threatened to derail their cooperation at the worst possible moment. Zara watched the chaos unfold, feeling the weight of command pressing down on her. They were running out of time, but forcing a solution would only breed resentment and mistrust. "Enough," she finally called out, her voice cutting through the argument. All eyes turned to her. "We're letting our differences divide us when we should be using them as a strength. We need to find a third option, one that respects Zephyrian values while effectively defending against the Voidborn." Her words seemed to break the tension. Slowly, humans and Zephyrians began to brainstorm together, building on each other's ideas rather than tearing them down. It was Naya who finally proposed a solution. "What if," she said hesitantly, "we use the pheromones not as a weapon, but as a messenger? We could amplify the planet's natural rhythms, making the Voidborn feel the harmony of our world." Dr. Kapoor nodded enthusiastically. "Yes, and we could combine it with a targeted electromagnetic pulse. Disrupt their systems without causing permanent damage." The plan quickly took shape. The humans' tactical knowledge melded with Zephyrian technology, creating a defense that was both effective and true to Zephyrian principles. As the Voidborn fleet entered the outer atmosphere, Zara gave the order. The crystal spires of Harmonia began to pulse with energy, broadcasting a complex mixture of pheromones and electromagnetic waves. The effect on the invaders was immediate and startling. The Voidborn ships began to falter, their coordinated attack dissolving into confusion. Some ships simply turned and fled, while others drifted aimlessly, their crews overwhelmed by the sudden connection to the living planet below. In the defense center, humans and Zephyrians watched in awe as their combined efforts repelled the invasion without a single shot fired. As the last Voidborn ship retreated, a cheer went up from both species. The impossible had been achieved through cooperation and mutual understanding. Ilara turned to Zara, her eyes shimmering with emotion. "Captain Hendricks, you and your crew have saved our people twice over. First from extinction, and now from destruction. We are forever in your debt." Zara smiled, feeling a profound sense of accomplishment. "We did it together, matriarch. Human ingenuity and Zephyrian wisdom, working in harmony." As the celebration continued around them, Zara couldn't help but reflect on the journey that had brought them to this moment. They had faced a crisis that threatened to tear them apart, but instead, it had forged a bond between their species that transcended their differences. Yet, even as they celebrated their victory, Zara knew that challenges still lay ahead. The ethical implications of their genetic research, the long-term consequences of their actions, and the question of how this encounter would change both human and Zephyrian society, all of these issues would need to be addressed. But for now, in this moment of triumph, Zara allowed herself to hope. Hope for a future where humanity's spirit of exploration and the Zephyrians' commitment to harmony could coexist and flourish. As she looked out over the gleaming spires of Harmonia, Zara knew that their adventure was far from over. In fact, it was only just beginning. In the weeks following the Voidborn attack, a new rhythm settled over Harmonia. The crystal spires hummed with renewed energy as humans and Zephyrians worked side by side, their collaboration deepening with each passing day. Captain Zara Hendricks stood on a balcony overlooking the city, marveling at how much had changed since their crash landing. Dr. Arun Kapoor joined her, his eyes alight with the excitement of new discoveries. "Captain," he said, barely containing his enthusiasm, "we've done it. The Zephyrian geneticists and I have successfully reversed the mutation in a group of volunteer subjects. It's not a permanent solution yet, but it's a monumental step forward." Zara smiled, feeling a profound sense of accomplishment. "That's incredible, Arun. How are the subjects doing?" "Remarkably well," he replied. "The reintroduction of male Zephyrians to the population has been interesting, to say the least. There are certainly cultural adjustments to be made, but the Zephyrians are adapting with grace and curiosity." Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Matriarch Ilara and Lyrics. The Zephyrian leaders approached with an air of solemnity that made Zara straighten instinctively. "Captain Hendricks," Ilara began, her voice carrying a note of formality, "on behalf of the Zephyrian people, we wish to express our deepest gratitude. Your crew's contributions have given us hope for a future we thought lost." Lyrics stepped forward, presenting a small, intricately carved crystal. "We offer you this Harmony Stone, our highest honor. It symbolizes the bridge between our peoples and the harmony we've achieved together." Zara accepted the gift with reverence, feeling the weight of its significance. "Thank you, Matriarch, Lyrics. The honor is ours. The spirit of exploration that brought us to your world has been rewarded beyond measure." As they stood there, representatives of two species brought together by chance and united by shared challenges, Zara felt the need to address the lingering questions that hung between them. "Matriarch," she said carefully, "while we're overjoyed at the progress we've made, we must discuss the future. The ethical implications of our genetic work, the potential impact on both our societies, these are issues we can't ignore." Ilara nodded solemnly. "You are wise to raise these concerns, Captain. We propose the establishment of a joint ethics committee with representatives from both our peoples. Together, we can navigate the complex path ahead." The suggestion filled Zara with hope. It was a tangible sign that their cooperation would continue, that the bridge between their species would grow stronger. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, who had been quietly observing, spoke up. "If I may, there's another matter we should consider. The knowledge we've gained here, the advancements we've made together, they could benefit countless other species across the galaxy. Perhaps it's time to think beyond our two worlds." Her words sparked a moment of contemplative silence. The implications were staggering, the potential to reshape interstellar relations, to forge alliances and share knowledge on an unprecedented scale. Lyric's eyes shimmered with excitement. A galactic coalition of knowledge and harmony. It's an ambitious vision, but one worth pursuing. As the discussion flowed, outlining plans for the future, Zara felt a bittersweet pang. Their mission of exploration had transformed into something far greater than they could have imagined, but it also meant their time on Venus 9 was coming to an end. "We'll need to return to Earth soon," she said, voicing the thought that had been nagging at her. "Our people need to know what's happened here to prepare for the changes coming to the galaxy." Ilara placed a comforting hand on Zara's shoulder. "You'll always have a home here, Captain, and we hope this is just the beginning of our people's journey together." In the days that followed, preparations were made for the Horizon's departure. The ship, repaired and enhanced with Zephyrian technology, stood ready to carry its crew back to Earth. But they wouldn't be going alone. A delegation of Zephyrians, led by Lyrics, would accompany them, ambassadors to Earth, bearing messages of peace and proposals for ongoing cooperation. In return, some of Zara's crew had chosen to remain on Venus 9, continuing the work they'd started and deepening the bonds between their species. As Zara stood at the helm of the Horizon, watching Venus 9 recede in the viewscreen, she felt a complex mix of emotions. Pride in what they'd accomplished, excitement for the future they were shaping, and a touch of sadness at leaving their new friends behind. "Plot a course for Earth, Lieutenant Chen," she ordered, her voice steady. "Let's go home and share the greatest discovery in human history." The Horizon's engines hummed to life, enhanced by Zephyrian crystal technology. As they prepared to enter the quantum vortex that would carry them back to Earth, Zara looked at her crew, human and Zephyrian alike, and felt a swell of optimism. They had come to Venus 9 as explorers and found themselves becoming ambassadors, scientists, and bridge builders. The challenges they faced had forged them into something greater than the sum of their parts. As the swirling energies of the vortex enveloped the ship, Zara knew that this was not an end, but a beginning. The true adventure, the reshaping of two societies and potentially the entire galaxy, was just getting started. With stars streaking past and the promise of a new era of cooperation ahead, the Horizon carried its crew towards home and towards a future filled with endless possibilities.